Reading a November TBR was the hardest TBR I've had to pick yet. There are so many things that I want to read in November and so much going on, but I think I've got it narrowed down to a reasonable amount of, well, I think I've got it narrowed down anyway. And so, hi, I'm Rose. I am at home. I'm slightly moved over from where you're used to seeing me. If you can see that sunshine right there, it was like putting lines across me. I couldn't figure out how, is the time change? I couldn't figure out how to get that off. So I'm over here and hopefully this looks okay and you can put up with my weird positioning and seeing more of the TV and maybe seeing more of these books back here if you've been wondering what's back there. So I want to go ahead and get started as fast as I can to get into this TBR. Again, I love everything I picked, but I love everything behind me and it's getting harder and harder as I continue to get books to narrow things down. Now, this is a mood read TBR. I managed to fit things into the different categories, but just generally speaking, for November, I want things that are a little more family stories. I want things with a little bit more of an emotional connection. I want all the feels. So that was kind of my goal going into this, but I still wanted to make sure I had the different categories covered. There's things that aren't here that might end up getting picked because there are some things that I really wanted to fit in November and I just couldn't. Also, I am doing NaNoWriMo, so I'm trying to read and write and teach and live and do all of the things this month. If you are interested in an update on my Nano, I'm going to actually talk about it at the very end of this video. So if you're not interested in Nano, this is the last I want to say about it. I'll let you guys who are just here for the books go and then talk to anyone who is also doing Nano or is interested in my Nano to hear about it at the end. But now, let's get started. My first category is something that's going to make me happy. I think this is going to make me happy. I have been hearing so much about it. I do not have Apple TV, so and I have too many streaming services. It's too much. It is now overwhelming. So I don't imagine, unless it gets moved to something that I already have, that I'm going to be able to watch the show. But I see so much about the show, so much talk about the show and the book. I really want to get this read this month. And it is, in case you haven't guessed yet, Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. And apparently the UK cover is very different. This cover gives it a rom-com feel, and from what I understand, it is not a rom-com. So, what it's about: chemist Elizabeth Zott is not your average woman. In fact, Elizabeth Zott would be the first to point out that there is no such thing as an average woman. I'm a fan of Elizabeth Zott already. But it's the early 1960s, and her all-male team at Hastings Research Institute takes a very unscientific view of equality. Except for one, Calvin Evans, the lonely, brilliant, Nobel Prize-nominated grudge holder who falls in love with, of all things, her mind. True chemistry results. Like science, though, life is unpredictable, which is why a few years later, Elizabeth Zott finds herself not only a single mother, but also the reluctant star of America's most beloved cooking show, Supper at 6. Elizabeth's unusual approach to cooking, combine 1 tablespoon acetic acid with a pinch of sodium chloride, proves revolutionary. But as her following grows, not everyone is happy. Because, as it turns out, Elizabeth Zott isn't just teaching women to cook, she's daring them to change the status quo. Laugh out loud funny, shrewdly observant, and studded with a dazzling cast of supporting characters, Lessons in Chemistry is as original and vibrant as its protagonist. I know I'm going to love this. There's no question about if it follows that. This is for me. It's just on the side of long. And again, I got a lot going on, but this is so high up on the list of what I want to make sure I hit in November. The next thing has been on TBRs multiple times. It is short. I should be able to get to it. It just keeps falling through the cracks and it is Cheryl Strayed's Tiny Beautiful Things. The category is I want to think. It's the place to put nonfiction. I do not read a lot of nonfiction, but I am super interested in this. I still haven't watched the show, even though I do have Hulu, because I want to read the book first. Here is the book. I just gotta get there. So, for more than a decade, thousands of people have sought advice from Dear Sugar, the pseudonym of best-selling author Cheryl Strayed. First through her online column at The Rumpus, later through her hit podcast Dear Sugars, and now through her popular Substack newsletter. Tiny Beautiful Things collects the best of Dear Sugar in one volume, bringing her wisdom to many more readers. This edition features 6 new columns and a new preface by Strayed. Rich with humor, insight, and compassion, and absolute honesty, this book is a balm for everything life throws our way. It does sound really good. That description does not sound like the trailers for the series, so it'd be interesting to see how one became the other. But I really do want to watch the show, and the only way I'm allowing myself to do that is to read the book first. Okay, so the next category is I want to be scared. And I'm not generally in the mood for scary in November, but I do really think the writing retreat fits for this time of year, even though, as you can see, it's bright and sunny here. Kind of a winter writing retreat place during NaNoWriMo month. I think that'd be really cool. So, what this is about. Alix had all but given up her dreams of becoming a published author when she receives a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Attend an exclusive month-long writing retreat at the estate of feminist horror writer Rosa Vallow. Even the knowledge that Ren, her former best friend and current rival, is attending doesn't dampen her excitement. But when the attendees arrive, Rosa drops a bombshell. They must all complete an entire novel from scratch during the next month. And author of the best one will receive a life-changing 7-figure publishing deal. Determined to win this seemingly impossible contest, Alix buckles down and tries to ignore the strange happenings at the estate, including Rosa's erratic behavior, Ren's cruel mind games, and the alleged haunting of the mansion itself. But when one of the writers vanishes during a snowstorm, Alix realizes that something very sinister is afoot. With the clock running out, she must discover the truth or suffer the same fate. A claustrophobic and propulsive thriller exploring the dark side of female relationships and fame, The Writing Retreat is an unput-downable debut novel from a compelling new talent. So that might be like a scary version of the journey I'm on right now, and I am here for this. This is going to be amazing. The next category is twists and turns. So something mysterious, something thrillery. I know the last one sounded that way, but it's also, that one was a little more scary, I think. This one is Happiness Falls by Angie Kim, and I got this through Book of the Month a few months back. We didn't call the police right away. Those are the electric first words of this extraordinary novel about a biracial Korean-American family in Virginia whose lives are upended when their beloved father and husband goes missing. Mia, the irreverent, hyper-analytical 20-year-old daughter, has an explanation for everything, which is why she isn't initially concerned when her father and younger brother Eugene don't return from a walk in a nearby park. They must have lost their phone or stopped for an errand somewhere. By the time Mia's brother runs through the front door, bloody and alone, it becomes clear that the father in this tight-knit family is missing. And the only witness is Eugene, who has the rare genetic condition Angelman syndrome and cannot speak. What follows is both a ticking clock investigation into the whereabouts of a father and an emotionally rich portrait of a family whose most personal secrets just may be at the heart of his disappearance. Full of shocking twists and fascinating questions of love, language, and human connection, Happiness Falls is a mystery, a family drama, and a novel of profound philosophical inquiry. With all the powerful storytelling she brought to her award-winning debut Miracle Creek, Angie Kim turns the missing person story into something wholly original, creating an indelible tale of a family who must go to remarkable lengths to truly understand each other. That sounds amazing. It sounds like exactly what I want. Family drama with a fast-paced plot. I think This is going to be so amazing, and hopefully I will get to it in November. That light is coming closer and closer. I gotta go faster. Okay. The next category is I want a good cry, and so I want something that's gonna really tug at the heartstrings, and I thought this pick from Book of the Month, The Leftover Woman by Jean Kwok, seemed like this would fit the bill. It seems so heart-wrenching. Okay. Jasmine Yang arrives in New York City from her rural Chinese village without money or family support, fleeing a controlling husband on a desperate search for the daughter who was taken from her at birth. Another female casualty of China's controversial one-child policy. But with her husband on her trail, the clock is ticking, and she's forced to make incredibly risky decisions if she ever hopes to be reunited with her daughter. Meanwhile, publishing executive Rebecca Whitney seems to have it all: a prestigious family name and the wealth that comes with it, a high-powered career, a beautiful home, a handsome husband, and an adopted Chinese daughter she adores. She even hired a nanny to help her balance the demands of being a working wife and mother. When an industry scandal threatens to jeopardize not only Rebecca's job, but her marriage, this perfect world seems to crumble, and her role in her own family is called into question. The Leftover Woman finds these two unforgettable women on a shocking collision course. Twisting, suspenseful, and surprisingly poignant, this is a profound exploration of identity and belonging, motherhood and family. It is the story of two women in a divided city, separated by severe economic and cultural differences, yet bound by a deep emotional connection to a child. Oh my goodness, this sounds so good. I am so here for this. It's also not super long. I think this is going to be perfect for November. The next thing has been on my TBR multiple times as well. It was my Mother's Day gift from my son, and I really hope I get to it. My concern is length, and it is Mark Lawrence's The Book That Wouldn't Burn. Again, it's been on the TBR. I really want to get to it. It's just, as you can see, it is a chunker, and November with all that's going on is a hard month. The boy has lived his whole life trapped within a book-choked chamber older than empires and larger than cities. The girl has spent hers in a tiny settlement out in the dust where nightmares stalk and no one goes. The world has never even noticed them. That's about to change. Their stories spiral around each other across worlds and time. This is a tale of truth and lies and hearts and the blurring of one into another. A journey on which knowledge erodes certainty, and on which, though the pen may be mightier than the sword, blood will be spilled and cities burned. I really cannot wait. If I don't get to this in November, this is going to be my Christmas read. So not pre-Christmas, like working up to Christmas, but in that week after Christmas, but before New Year's that I'm off work, this will go there. I almost didn't even put it here for that reason, because I really think it's going to end up over there instead of here. But I want to read it so bad. It would be nice if I could do this the week of Thanksgiving. That might also work. The next category is a seasonal read. And like I said, when I think of this season, I think of family stories or hard-hitting emotional stories. And so I thought that this would really work in that category. And it is Matt Haig's The Midnight Library. I think this is going to be a very emotionally hard-hitting book from everything that I have heard from friends who have read it. And it's also super short, so that is helpful for me here. Between life and death, there is a library. Up until now, Nora Seed's life has been full of misery and regret. She feels she has let everyone down, including herself. But things are about to change. When she finds herself in the Midnight Library, she has a chance to make things right. The books in the Midnight Library enabled Nora to live as if she has done things differently. Each one contains a different life, a possible world in which she made different choices that played out in an infinite number of ways, affecting everyone she knew, as well as many people she never met. With the help of an old friend, she can now undo every decision she regrets, and she tries to work out her perfect life. But things aren't always what she imagined they'd be, and soon her choices place the library and herself in extreme danger. Before time runs out, she must answer the ultimate question: what is the best way to live? That sounds just amazing, and I think this is going to be something that ends up on my I like the things that I buy, so I'm obviously going to really like this, I think. But I think this one's going to be way up there for my 2023 reads. The next category is I've wanted to read this for a while, and this one I actually bought when it came out a long time ago, and it has been sitting on my shelves ever since. It is The 10,000 Doors of January. And first off, check that cover. How beautiful is that? Yeah, I believe this is like a first edition, and it's got deckled edges. It's a really beautiful book, and I really want to read it. And Alix E. Harrow has put out things since, at least one thing since this book that I also really want to read, but I'm like, I should probably read this one first to make sure that I like their writing. So, in a sprawling mansion filled with peculiar treasures, January Scalar is a curiosity herself. As the ward of the wealthy Mr. Locke, she feels little different from the artifacts that decorate the halls, carefully maintained, largely ignored, and utterly out of place. Then she finds a strange book, a book that carries the scent of other worlds and tells a tale of secret doors, of love, adventure, and danger. Each page turn reveals impossible truths about the world, and January discovers a story increasingly entwined with her own. That sounds so good. It's why it's been on my shelf for so long, but I really want to read this one as soon as possible. So that was something I've had for a while. The next category is Oh Shiny, and I'm going to have to put it up here because it comes out on Tuesday, and that is Iron Flame. I am going to a midnight release party. My plan right now is to kind of film that vlog style. We'll see how that works. I've tried to do vlogs a few times and I feel really awkward, so I haven't yet, but Liam is coming with me. He's gonna film, and we're gonna try it. So if you would like to see what that's like, if you've never been to a midnight release party or are wondering what this one is gonna be, go ahead and subscribe to this channel so that you will be notified when that video comes out, or when I say, yeah, that didn't work, but let me tell you about the book. Which means that my next category, which is books that I want to reread, is, of course, Fourth Wing. And as you can see, I actually started my reread last night. I'm hoping I can get through. It goes fast because I love this world so much. So this is the story of Violet, whose mother is a general at a war college where you get to pick from 4 different categories. And the most deadly is Dragon Rider, and our main character, Violet, should be in the scribes. She's very brilliant, she's very small, she has very loose joints, so she sprains things a lot. She does not belong on the back of a dragon, but her mother is insisting she goes into the Dragon Riders, and she has lots of adventures and lots of things happen, and there's so much, so much. And I'm loving the reread already. So that's happening right now. And I can already tell you, I absolutely love this. This is probably my favorite, if not one of my favorite books of 2023. It is at the top, tippity top of my list of wonderful adventures that I took this year. And the last category is I have to read this. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm filming this a little bit late, and so I already have. So again, if you wanna hear I promise you wanna hear my review. If you've not heard of this book, you want to hear more about it because, but I'm gonna save that. You want more though, and it is The Life We Bury by Allen Eskens. And it fits with the whole winter kind of thing. It is a very suspenseful mystery. I'm keeping my opinions to myself, but if you want to know my thoughts at the end of the month when I do my wrap up, you want to know my thoughts, I promise. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Let me read you the back though. College student Joe Talbert is on deadline to complete a writing assignment for an English class. His task is to interview a stranger and write a brief biography. So Joe heads to the nearby nursing home to find a willing subject. Then he meets Carl Iverson, a dying Vietnam veteran and a convicted murderer. With only a few months to live, Carl has been medically paroled after spending 30 years in prison for the crimes of rape and murder. As Joe writes about Carl's life, especially Carl's valor in Vietnam, he cannot reconcile the heroism of the soldier with the despicable acts of the convict. With the help of Lila, his skeptical neighbor, Joe throws himself into uncovering the truth, but he is hamstrung in his efforts by having to deal with his dangerously dysfunctional mother, the guilt of leaving his autistic brother vulnerable, and a haunting childhood memory. Thread by thread, Joe unravels the tapestry of Carl's conviction, but as he and Lila dig deeper into the circumstances of the crime, the stakes grow higher. Will Joe discover the truth before it's too late to escape the fallout? I can't say, I'm not saying anything else. I hope that sounds really good to you, and if it does, I'll tell you more about it at the end. So that is my TBR as of right now. I do have the category to replace things. There are a couple of things that I've said that I plan to read in November that are not in that stack. It's just because I know I'm not going to get to more than that, I don't think, but I might replace some of those with a few of the other things I've talked about. We'll find out when I do the review at the end of the month. So that's the TBR, and if you are not interested in Nano, then thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. If you are interested in Nano, stick around, because right now I'm going to talk about it. My Nano is behind, and I'm not upset about it. I would have been my first time through. I was a real stickler for the numbers the first time through, but I've done this before, and I know that I don't have as much prepped as I did the first time I did it. So I'm not even calling this a first draft. I'm calling this a discovery draft. Because as I'm going, I'm like, ooh, that could happen. Ooh, that could happen. Ooh, this will be fun. I had my premise before I started, but I didn't really have a plot. I still am building the plot. I'm building the things. I'm still building my character. I have a loose idea for her, but I don't really have a personality yet. So every time I sit down, it's a lot slower going than it would have been had I figured this out beforehand. But I am still enjoying myself. I'm at 6% through, and yeah, I should be closer to 10 at this point. But again, it is what it is, and the more I figure out, the faster I know that it will go. So I'm not worried. And so if you are doing Nano and you are behind, you shouldn't worry. Try not to worry. I'm not telling you you can't have your feelings. Have your feelings. But it's okay. Wherever you are, you're fine. And whatever this is for you, you're fine. And if it's a zero draft, if it ends up just being a super long outline, if it ends up just being a discovery, you're writing and you're doing something for you that hopefully you're enjoying and is getting your creativity flowing up there. And that is awesome. And a round of applause from me, for everybody who's just given it a shot. So that's where I am. I should have said this before I broke for Nano, but Wednesday videos. So the birthday video took forever to edit and put me way behind, and that's why there haven't been Wednesday videos. I've been trying to get caught up. I'm not saying that they're not coming back. They are. There's a very good chance there will be one this Wednesday, but it might turn out that Wednesdays, at least during the school year, are going to be kind of bonus videos, and I'm going to leave kind of the for sure things on Sundays. I haven't figured that out yet. I need to keep this fun and I need to keep this as a kind of stress reliever from all of the other stuff that's on my plate and not turn it into more stress on my plate, if that makes sense. And if 2 videos during that week is too stressful, I just back off. And so you'll for sure get Sundays, maybe Wednesdays, maybe every other Wednesday. I haven't figured that out yet, but I like talking to you, and I don't want to freak out about having to talk. I don't want to freak out about the chance of talking to you. I want to always be able to enjoy that. So in the meantime, I hope that you have an absolutely amazing week and that you get to read some super amazing books. Bye, y'all.